You were already testing his patience. By the time he walked into that classroom, Aizawa Shouta had wrapped up a staff meeting that ran 20 minutes longer than it should have. And the first thing he saw when entering the classroom was you, sitting backwards, your legs spread wide and twirling a pen in your fingers like you didn't have a care in the whole goddamn world. "You're late," you said with a smirk, lifting your brows in mock offense. Aizawa sighed, already regretting teaching this private study session. "And you're asking for trouble," he shot back. "I thought you liked it when I asked for things," you said sweetly, innocence coating your words like a frosting on a cake, obviously fake, and definitely tried to give him cavities. He dropped his capture weapon onto the desk with a thud, the fabric rolling out like a sleeping snake. "You're an adult. That doesn't mean you can get away with acting like a brat in my class." "I think it does," you said, dragging out the last word with a playful glint. "Besides, I'm technically not in class. This is extracurricular." Aizawa's dark eyes pinned to yours. You knew better than to push him. By the way his jaw tensed and the slight furrow between his brows, God, he loved that look. He had been riding the edge all week, pressing buttons and skipping assignments and teasing him every single chance you got. You wanted his attention. No, you needed his attention. And this one-on-one study session was the perfect opportunity to tip him over the edge. He stepped closer, boots clinking softly against the floor. "You haven't turned in a single homework assignment in 3 days," he stated. "I've been busy," you say, beginning to yawn, stretching your arms over your head in an exaggerated arch that only emphasized your posture. His gaze dropped for a fraction of a second before flicking back up. He wasn't immune, no matter how unreadable he liked to pretend he was. "Busy." "Doing what?" "Running your mouth, stirring up fights with Bakugo, testing my patience." You batted your lashes. "All of the above." A beat of silence passed between you, heavy with anticipation. Aizawa stared down at you, then slowly walked behind you, his voice slow and glittered. "You think I won't do something about that attitude?" You swallowed, heart rate kicking up, but your grin kept. "I think you want to do something about it," you teased. He leaned down, voice gravelly, and whispered in your ear. "You're damn right I do." A shiver went through your spine. Before you could even turn your head, he grabbed your wrist and pulled you out of that chair. You stumbled slightly, not expecting him to be quite so quick to action, but he pulled in your lower stomach at the firm grip he had on you. "Desk. Bend over." You blinked. "Wait, seriously?" He gave you a look that could have frozen hell over. "Do you think I'm joking?" You hesitated, but only for a second longer, then obeyed, dramatically placing your hands on the desk and wiggling your hips a little bit as you bent down. "Like this, sensei?" you asked, teasing, looking back over your shoulder. He didn't answer right away. You heard the shift of his coat and the presence behind you, and then smack. His palm landed hard and flat against your backside. Your breath hitched. "Oh," you breathed. "So that's what we're doing?" "You've earned worse," he said, tone dry. "And you'll keep running your mouth, you'll get worse." Another sharp smack. You bit your lip, half from pain and half from satisfaction. The sting bloomed deliciously beneath your clothes. "You can't spank your students," you taunted, even as your body trembled under his hand. "You're not a kid," he replied coolly, "and you're in my classroom." He landed yet another strike, Firm this time, you whimpered just a little bit, and he noticed. You act all tough until someone puts you in your place, he muttered, his hand smoothing over the spot he had just hit, only to deliver another sharp slap seconds later. Is this what this has been about? You wanted me to lose my temper. You nodded, breathless. Maybe, you answered. You're not going to like what happens if you keep pushing me, he said, his hand, although lingered, said otherwise. I think I will, he whispered. He pauses for a second, then delivers 2 smacks in quick succession, both sharp enough to make your knees shake. Your nails scraped lightly against the desk. He grabbed your hips to steady you. His grip was far too comfortable, too intimate. I should make you count, he muttered. He laughed. Go ahead, he said, half laughing, half gasping. I can take it. Oh, I know you can, he muttered. Another strike. 1, he gasped. Each strike landed with a rhythm. He was silent, each one followed by the heat of his palm soothing the sting. You weren't sure when it stopped, or when you stopped teasing him. I think it was somewhere between 3 and 7, with your body edge dulled, replaced by breathy noises, and a little tremble that filled your body. Quiet now, he murmured, leaning closer. Where's that smart mouth gone? You panted. On vacation? Shame, he said, dragging his hand slowly over the tender skin. I was just starting to enjoy shutting it. His voice was like velvet and steel, and you hated how badly it made your stomach flip. He let his hand rest there, heavy with promise, his fingers digging into your skin. This isn't over, he said, dark and low. You'll be coming back here every day until your attitude approves. You didn't even have the energy to be smug with him in that moment, so you just nodded once, dazed. I expect obedience, he continues. If I don't get it, I guess I'll just have to teach you some more lessons. You barely managed to whisper, yes, sensei. He stepped back, finally his tone clipped again. Fix your uniform. Sit down. We're starting lesson review. And just like that, the cold professionalism returned, with the heat between your legs only said tension had just begun. You sat down stiffly, feeling the residual burn. With every small movement, Aizawa didn't acknowledge that the way your breath still came fast, or how your legs shifted beneath the desk as you couldn't quite get comfortable. His voice was cool, and none of what just happened before even fazed him. Page 34. Read the first paragraph aloud. You blinked at him. Seriously? He looked at you without blinking. You said you wanted to pass this course. This is why you're here. You nodded your eyes at him, flipping open the book with dramatic flair. Hi. Sure, it wasn't because you didn't just, wanted an excuse to put your hands on me. His gaze didn't waver. I don't need excuses. Your spine straightened slightly at the way he said it, quiet and pointed. That simmer in your gut came right back to the boil. But you held your tongue this time, mostly because you wanted to see what would happen if you didn't. You read through a few paragraphs, stumbling over some words, especially when his eyes stayed on yours the entire time. Again, he said when you were finished. You grumbled something under your breath, but you repeated it. This time you were slower. As he walked behind you, slow and deliberate. That made the hair on your arms rise. You could feel his presence, close but not touching. It sent tiny little shivers crawling down your spine. You read better when you're not trying to be a pain in the ass, he said. You smiled slightly. Still, you're a pain in the ass, though. Aizawa leaned down until his breath ghosted across your neck. Don't tempt me. You swallowed, but tried not to squirm. Is that a threat or a promise? You cheekily asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he slowly reached down and closed the textbook in front of you. You turned your head. We're done already? You asked. No, he said, voice low and deliberate. We're shifting focus. You clearly need a different kind of lesson. You tried not to look too eager, but your fingers were already curling up in the desk. Oh? Stand up, he ordered. You obeyed, heart pounding. He reached into his coat and pulled out something, one of those little small cloth resistance bands used for training. Your eyes widened slightly. Where did you get that? You asked. Recovery girl. Has a drawer full of them. She knows some students learn better with discipline. That made your breath hitch. He gestured to a nearby metal stool. Hands on the seat. Legs apart and don't move. You hesitated for only a second. The compliance was fighting within you. The surface was cold under your palms. You didn't dare look back, but you heard the sound of the resistance band stretching between his fingers. And heat passed. Then a firm, satisfying snap of the band striking against your thigh echoed throughout the room. You gasped more from shock than really from pain. You were a little bit, confused. You just kind of looked back at him. He struck again, a little higher, just below the curve of your bottom. You need structure, he said calmly. Boundaries, rules. You whimpered slightly, hips twitching forward. And you need to follow them. Another snap, your knees shook. Aizawa! That's sensei, he corrected. You grit your teeth. Sensei? He hit you again and again until your thighs trembled and your breath was hitching with each little sharp sting. One hand pressed into your lower back, the other smoothing over the area he'd been working over. Too much? He asked. You shook your head quickly. No, don't stop. There was a small sound in his throat, not quite a laugh, not quite a growl, but something darker. I didn't say you can beg yet. Then make me earn it. You snapped back. Wrong move. Or maybe the right one? In one fluid motion, he yanked you upright, spun you around to face him. His eyes were darker now and his mouth was tight. He grabbed your chin and tilted your head up to meet his gaze. You really don't know when to quit, he muttered. You didn't respond. You couldn't, not when he was looking at you like that. His thumb brushed over your lower lip, and for a moment, all you could hear was the beat of your own heartbeat. I'm starting to think you like punishment more than praise, he said. Maybe I just like you, you responded. That made him pause. His grip on your chin loosened just a fraction, and his brows knitted together, as if unsure whether to scold you or to kiss you for that. But a moment passed, and he stepped back. Sit down, he ordered again. Finish the assignment. If you get through this chapter without mouthing off, I'll consider ending your detention earlier. You stared at him, panting, trying to decide whether to push him more or play along. But you were starting to understand the game, and pushing him only worked when he let it. The lesson that was in control, after all. Yours and his. So you sat down and picked up your pen and did debriefs, as you were told, for once. Minutes ticked by in silence, and you scribbled through the assignment, glancing up every now and then to see him watching you from the corner. But you still did your work, surprisingly. And when you were done, you paused and looked up. Done, you called out. He didn't move. Sensei? Good. He walked over slowly, looking down at your work, nodding once. You're capable of behaving. You smirked. Only when there's a reward involved. He leaned in this time. It was so close you could feel the warmth of his breath against your cheek. You're not getting one. Not tonight. He then turned and walked out the door, gathering his scarf. Wait, what? He blinked. He wanted me to teach you a lesson. He glanced over his shoulder. Consider it learned. And just like that, he was gone, leaving you breathless, aching, and absolutely wrecked. Detention wasn't over. This stuff had just begun.